In this video, I'm going to show you how to create a Google Ads campaign from scratch. I'm going to walk you through the entire process and go through every step that you need to get right if you want to generate tons of leads and sales from your Google Ads, which is absolutely possible even for beginners. And for those who don't know, I own a specialist Google Ads and Meta Ads agency and have done for the past 9 years, so I absolutely live and breathe this stuff. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is create a Google Ads account. Now you do that by first making sure that you are signed in to your Google account on the browser that you're about to use to follow along with this. Now, you probably already have a Google account. If you use Gmail, you definitely have a Google account. Just make sure you're signed in on the browser we're going to use. Even if you don't use Gmail, there's a good chance that you still have a Google account because a lot of the Google services that we all use all the time require you to have a Google account. So you most likely have a Google account. Go ahead and sign into that. If for some reason you don't, you can quickly set up one. You might even want to set up a new one in order to go through this process. You could do that as well. But just make sure you are signed in to your Google account that allows you to use all the Google services, and then come through to this page, which is ads.google.com/home. And here we can actually create a Google Ads account because you're going to need that in order to be able to advertise. Now, before I walk you through the process, I just want to quickly highlight something, and that's, you can see up here, we've got this sort of banner from Google talking about the offers that Google is willing to give us for creating a new account as a new advertiser, right? So it says, choose your offer and get up to £1,200 in ad credits. And if you scroll down, if I scroll down to the bottom here, we've got 3 different offers. Offer A, B, C, £400 in ad credits when we spend £400, 800 in ad credit when we spend £1,200, and 1,200 ad credits when we spend £2,400. Now, these offers do vary from time to time, so depending on when you see this video, you might have different offers. They also vary in location and currencies. It's obviously giving me a pounds related offer because I'm UK based, but people in different countries will see different things. Obviously, just select the one that you think is most likely. If you're like tentatively just getting started Google Ads, not sure if you stick around, go with the 400 one probably. If you're like, no, the Google Ads is going to be a more significant thing, then take advantage of the best possible offer. It's what I would recommend. So go ahead and select the various offer that you want. Then you can go through and click claim offer. And once you've done that, you then just want to go ahead and click start now. Now, once you click start now, you might see something a little bit different to what I've got in this screen here. We've obviously got other accounts and manager accounts because we do this as a business. We manage Google Ads for clients, right? So we have all sorts of other things here. You may not have that. That's absolutely fine. What I'm going to do for the demonstration purposes of this video is click on new Google Ads account, and then you'll have something along those lines that we can then walk through, and you can take a look at exactly how you go about doing this. Okay, so we've got some instructions here from Google, and I know sometimes take a bit of extra time to read as you go through. I think it's useful. I think it helps you prevent issues because you can mess things up with Google Ad account creation that can cause issues later down the line. So very simply, create your first campaign in a few simple steps, add business information, create your ads, set your budget, right? So let's go ahead and click on create your first campaign. Okay, so Google has pulled some information in here automatically about my business based on the information associated with the Google account that we're using to set up this Google Ads account. So it's put in the business name. You may or may not have that. If not, you can enter that in, and then it's pulled through the website URL as well automatically, just a homepage. Again, you may or may not have that depending on what you've got set up and associated with your Google account. You may want to change things as well instead of your website if that's not where you want to send people typically, and often you're going to want to send them to your business profile on Google, or a specific phone number, an app. You can go ahead and select one of the other options. Most businesses won't fall into that category, though most businesses will be website, as is the default here, and that's what I'm going to leave. Now, if we click next, Google is going to take us through a campaign creation process, and I don't want to do that yet. I'd rather get the ad account set up, and then I'll walk you through exactly how to create a campaign with all the various options and making sure we get it right. So I'm going to select this here, which is create an account without a campaign, and that skips that campaign creation process as we set up the ad account. Google do that because they try and make it easier for beginners to not only create an ad account, but then also have their first campaign created as part of the process so they can start advertising. I don't think it's the best way to do it, especially when you're going through a video like this, and you will see exactly how to do it properly. Okay, so still got to add in some details about our account settings here, right? Just make sure you get all this correct. So billing country, you want that to be correct. Time zone, you want that to be correct. And then currency, you want that to be correct as per your currency. I have seen issues with people who've had ad accounts where they've gotten this stuff wrong or used different time zones, different currencies, and that can cause issues later on if ever they run into stuff with their account or they're billed in the wrong currency and that sort of thing. But that's all correct, so I'm going to go ahead and click continue. So here you've got a chance to just confirm some of these settings like location and time zone. Then you've got the introductory offer. I didn't select any of those introductory offers at the beginning because we won't actually run ads out of this account. This is just for demonstration purposes, but hopefully had you selected one of those promotional offers at the beginning, that would then be displayed in here. So you just want to quickly check that. And then we've got this payments and billing section. Now, a lot of this information has been pulled through from my Google account, and you may well have that as well, but you might not. So a payments profile is already in there. We can go ahead and click change and change this and add in a new payment profile if we don't already have one. Purpose of use is business. I imagine that's going to apply to the vast majority of people watching this video, but you should know that there is an eligible non-business category. So if, for example, if you're a charity, you can read this and take a look at the various options, but that just is useful to know. Tax information, this is optional. So this is going to vary depending on your location and the difference that it makes. This is again pulled through information associated with my Google account, but you can add this in if you would like. I'd normally recommend doing so. And then you've got payment method. So this is once again pulled through data from my Google account, but we can come in and change this. So you can add in a credit or debit card, you can add in a bank account directly. We typically do recommend that you set up more than one payment method as well, because if, for example, you just put in a card and that card then expires and you forget about it, you can have failed payment attempts, like Google tries to bill you for the ads and the card's expired, so it fails. Well, that can cause issues because if Google's going to turn your ads off, but also if you have enough of those failed payment attempts, that can start to affect your ad account as a whole, and Google could think, hang on a minute, they're trying to get away with free ads, and you can get ad accounts being suspended or even disabled. So setting up a few multiple options is a good idea. As I said, that's already pulled through the data, and you may well have this as well. You can see here, just a quick note, you'll see a temporary £10 authorization on your card, which will typically be removed within a week. Not a big deal, just something to be aware of. And then the way Google charges is relatively frustrating for a lot of Google advertisers, because it's not as simple as you spent this much, we billed you for this much. There's always like a running balance. The invoices never quite match up with what you, like the monthly invoices never quite match up with what you spent. And Google gives some information here. So it says you'll be charged on the first of each month or anytime your balance exceeds an amount known as your billing threshold. These billing thresholds differ depending on where you are in the world. They differ depending on how long your ad account has been live and how much you've spent. But yeah, just something I wanted to highlight in case you later on you were like, hang on, this is all a bit confusing. And you know, that's to be expected, basically, unfortunately. Okay, so we've now got want personalized guidance from a Google Ads expert by phone or messaging app. I would select yes here. You do have to take the advice that you get from Google Ads experts that obviously work for Google with a pinch of salt. Sometimes their advice is really good, sometimes it's not. The more you educate yourself, the more Google Ads stuff that you do, the more you'll learn which is good pieces of advice and which is not. And just like anything, right, you could end up with a fantastic Google Ads expert that's really helping you from Google, or one that's not. Not everyone will qualify for this. So you can see I clicked on yes and it said, great, you may qualify for a no-cost consultation in the next 30 days. They're trying to help new advertisers. And then you just select your location and enter in your phone number, and you'll be able to get that consultation. And that's normally something I'd recommend most advertisers do if it's an option. Depending on where you are in the world, you may not be able to do that. I'm going to click no to save having to enter in my phone number and things like that, but that's how you would go about doing that. Okay, so what just happened that you weren't able to see was that when I click next, I had to just verify that £10 charge that I mentioned. And then that's actually gone through and then we removed, but obviously we can't show that, but I just wanted to let you know that may have happened as you're going through this process, and that's absolutely fine. And having done that, it now says your account was created, which is fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and click continue, and you can see here that Google's going to ask us a little bit more information about what it is that we are looking to do. So the first question is your organization an advertising agency? So you're managing ads for clients, yes or no? If it's a yes, you're going to be set up with a manager account that allows you to manage other ad accounts. Obviously, that's what we typically use when we work with clients. But I imagine most people going through this video, that's going to be a no, and you're going to be advertising your own business. And that's absolutely fine. So just select the one that most applies, right? So select no. And then this section here will likely come up, which says who pays for your ads. We talked about payment profiles, and it's Google wanting to know who's actually paying for the ad so they can verify the information here. So as a reminder, the payments profile for this account was the payments profile that we had set up at the previous section we talked about. And we select no, an agency pays pays and invoices us, or yes, we pay ads directly. Most of you are going to want to select yes, we pay Google Ads directly, and that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. Right, here we go. Save and continue. Okay, so now that we've set up your Google Ads account, you should have a window in front of you that looks something just like this, and we can move on to campaign creation. So from within overview, if you just want to go ahead and click on new campaign, and I'm going to walk you through the steps, click on new campaign here. Okay, so the first thing we need to do here is select which campaign objective we want to use. Now, this is really, really important because this is our chance to tell Google what it is that we really want to achieve from our Google ad campaign. And that's really important because if Google knows what it is that you really want to achieve with your Google ad campaign, they can optimize your campaign to get more of that thing. Google's AI, Google's delivery systems are very smart and very much able to tailor your campaign to help you achieve a specific outcome. So if you get this wrong, you will certainly see worse results. Now, the vast majority of Google advertisers, particularly beginners, are going to want to go with either sales or leads. Where a lot of Google advertisers go wrong is they go for website traffic and they think, well, I'll just send a load of people to my website and they will naturally therefore go ahead and find out about my products and services and go on become customers and leads and things like that. And it doesn't really work that way. If you select website traffic, Google is going to find people that are clickier but don't necessarily have the follow through. Whereas if you go with either sales or leads, then you're more likely to achieve that outcome. How you choose between those two really depends on whether people check out via your website. Do they purchase? Do they give you money online? If they do, you want to go ahead with sales because you can track all the way through to the sale. If they don't, if they become a lead first, if they book a call like they would with my marketing agency, they would book an appointment, they'd book a call, and then a salesperson would speak to them, and then if they go on to become a client, that would happen off website at a later date. We would therefore go with leads. So that's the distinction between the two. Now, there are obviously some other options, things like local store visits, promotions. If you're a local store, that makes a lot of sense. App promotion, if you've got an app, that makes a lot of sense. Awareness is typically reserved for larger brands who just want more brand awareness, not something I'd recommend beginners mess with. So I really think most beginners and people following this video should go with sales or leads. And for the purpose of this video, I'm going to go ahead and select leads. Okay, once we select leads, this pops up here, use these conversion goals to improve leads. Now the conversion goal, remember, is what we covered as part of the campaign and the ad account setup. So I talked about, we set up the book appointments conversion because if we were running an ad campaign for our own marketing agency, that's what we want to track. We want the ads to generate leads and we want to track which leads come through, what they cost, all that sort of stuff. Now on ours, we've got a little warning pop up. You could just see that says one inactive conversion action. That's just because I used a dummy URL for demonstration purposes. You would want to make sure there aren't any warnings, or if there are, hover over them, see what they are, and then go ahead and make sure those are fixed before you move on. But it should bring up the conversion goals that you set up during ad account creation once you select your campaign objective, and you can optimize for those and just make sure that everyone is on the same page. You're like, Google, this is what I want. You know what I want. Let's go ahead and do it. Right, we click continue and we get to choose our campaign type. Now I'm going to run through these relatively quickly and tell you which one I'd recommend you use. So first we've got search. Search is what most people expect when it comes to Google Ads, what most people think of when it comes to Google Ads. So that is where someone is searching for a keyword related to your product service and one of your ads is served to them. You've certainly seen ads like that if you've been searching on Google. Performance Max I'll get to in a minute. Demand Gen is a little bit of a catch-all where we've got little bits of bobs like some YouTube advertising, discovery, Gmail. If you've operated with Gmail, you've probably seen ads pop up. We've got display. Display you will almost certainly have seen as well. That's the ads that you see all over the internet on lots of different websites. Often people associate it most commonly with remarketing. Like let's say you were checking out a pair of shoes on a website and then all other websites you visited, you were seeing ads for those exact same shoes. That's remarketing using Google Display Ads most likely. You've got shopping. A lot of people aren't aware that when you search for a particular product on Google or something, you know, a description of a product category, let's say, you will see those ads right up at the top. A lot of people aren't aware that those are ads, the sort of thing where you've got images, a little like headline, a bit of information about that. You can click through and go through to website and purchase. Those are Google shopping ads. A lot of people think they're just organic search results. No, a lot of those are ads. And then we've got video, which is quite YouTube specific. Obviously, when we're talking about Google Ads, YouTube is within that family of advertising, and we can advertise on YouTube using video, and stuff like that. The reason why I left Performance Max to the end is because Performance Max is a catch-all for all of them. Performance Max is like a one-stop shop for all the different Google ad campaign types, and it's fantastic, but it is a little bit more complicated, and it's not where I'd recommend beginners start. I think beginners should start with search because that's the easiest to understand, and there's intent. When you advertise to people that are searching for things closely related to your products and services, they are interested. They want to solve a problem. They're actively looking for a solution. Getting those people to convert is a lot easier. So I'd recommend people start with search. It's quite easy to understand. And then once they've got that up and running, move over to Performance Max, because we definitely want to take advantage of all the other various campaign types. We want to take advantage of display and YouTube and shopping if that's appropriate. Obviously, that's not going to apply to lead-based businesses, but like e-commerce business, for example, can take advantage of shopping quite a lot, and we can do that with Performance Max. We also tend to find that Performance Max performs better after we've had a search campaign up and running and generating conversions, because Performance Max relies more heavily than any of the other campaign types on Google's AI and Google's systems to get you the best possible results, because you're giving them so much flexibility. Well, if Google has already got a bunch of conversions registered within your ad account and they know the type of person that converts, what time of day they convert, what time of week they convert, what they're interested in, how many times they need to see an ad before they convert, all that really useful information, your Performance Max campaign will perform better, and we can set that up by using search to begin with. So because it's a beginner's tutorial, I'm going to go ahead and click search. I do have a full tutorial on how to set up Performance Max, so when you feel like you're ready, I'll include a link in the video description. You can go ahead and check that out and see exactly how you would go about using that campaign type. Okay, so select the ways you'd like to reach your goal. Because if we're looking to generate leads, there are a number of different ways. We could have website visits, which is the option I'm going to select, and I think what most people looking to generate leads, or in fact sales, would be using. But we could, for example, have phone calls if we wanted people to call directly from our ads. For some businesses, that's great if you've got people there ready to pick up the phone. Store visits, app downloads, lead form submissions, fairly self-explanatory. So I'm obviously just going to go ahead and put in, if I can spell it correctly, our URL into there, heathmedia.co.uk. And that's really useful actually, because we're saying, look, we want to generate leads via a search campaign, sending people through to our website. We enter in our URL. If we click continue, what Google's going to do later on is they're going to use the information on our website to help create some stuff, create some keyword suggestions, ad copy suggestions for our Google ads. Right, then I'm just going to give this a quick name. So let's just call this example leads campaign. Okay, and go ahead and click continue. So now we come through to this section here, which is bidding strategies. And this is really important that you get this right, and it determines how Google allocates your budget to get you the best results possible. So the default here for a leads campaign is conversions. And by the way, I should mention quickly, and I didn't mention this at the campaign objective stage, that I'm using a leads campaign as an example, but absolutely if you're using a sales campaign, you can follow through what I'm showing you here as well. So conversions is the default here for leads. And what that's designed to do is get you as many conversions as possible. So you're saying to Google, I want you to bid, because that's how Google Ads works, right? You are bidding to put your ad in front of people because it's a search campaign, in this case, searching for certain keywords, and you're bidding against competitors. Now, if, for example, you were to say to Google, I want you to get many clicks as possible, then what Google will do is they'll put more of your ads and they'll bid more on inexpensive keywords that it's cheaper to put ads in front of people, because that's going to get you more clicks, right? If you can put your ads in front of people searching for keywords that are less valuable to other advertisers, it might cost you 50 cents a click, whereas putting your ads in front of people that are searching for keywords that are more valuable might cost you $2 a click. Obviously, there's going to be a big range depending on the keywords that you're targeting. And if you go for clicks, Google's going to favor those cheaper ones. But are those people searching for those keywords likely to convert? Well, I would argue no. That's why other advertisers are willing to pay more to target people searching for the other keywords, because those people are more likely to convert. So that's why it's really important to go with either conversions or conversions value. I'll explain that in a second, because Google will more heavily weight the keywords that are most likely to lead to conversions. And if they do that, you're likely to get better results, even if it means that in some cases you're paying more in terms of cost per click, because you are targeting keywords that are more valuable, that demonstrate more intent from the searcher, more intent to buy, more intent to become a lead. So I'd recommend that you go with either conversions or conversions value. Now, the difference with conversions value is that not all conversions are created equal and equally valuable to your business. So let's say we're running a leads campaign and we have two different services and we could generate a lead for either one. So let's say service one costs $500 and service two costs $10,000. Well, Generating leads for service 2 is a lot more valuable to your business because you make a lot more money for each customer that goes ahead and becomes a lead for service 2. Obviously, they have to go and convert, but you'd rather generate leads for service 2, right? Now, if you just go with conversions, and let's say the cost per lead for service 1 is $50, and the cost per lead for service 2 is $100, well, if it's just with conversions, Google's going, right, well, these leads cost less, so let's go ahead and generate more and more leads for service 1. But this service 2 is worth so much more to your business, even though the leads cost more. So you would actually, in that scenario, rather Google spent more money trying to get you more leads for service 2. So what conversion value basically is it's weighting the different values. And this is particularly important with e-commerce business. If you're using a sales campaign, I definitely recommend using conversion value because you want Google to optimize not just for as many sales or as many leads as possible, but the most valuable sales and most valuable leads. Hopefully that makes sense. I know this can be a bit confusing. I'm going to go ahead and use conversions here because if we were running this for our business, we'd only be advertising typically for the one outcome, which is leads for our services. And therefore, there's no difference in value because there's only one lead type. And if you're in that scenario, it's absolutely fine. Setting a target cost per action is not something that I'd recommend you do at this stage. I do have another video on target CPAs and when to add them in, and actually more information around bidding strategy. So I'll include that in a link in the video description in case you want to check that out. I'm going to be referencing lots of different resources throughout this video, by the way, guys, just to make this as useful as it can, because I've covered a lot of these topics in other videos. We've got this section down here called customer acquisition, and you can see we've got a checkbox here that says bid for new customers only. Not something I'd recommend you mess around with as a beginner. It's a bit more of an advanced thing, but a lot of Google advertisers are concerned about spending too much money putting ads in front of people that have already bought from them, and they feel like that might be a waste, and they'd rather spend more of their budget on new customer acquisition. That's exactly what this feature is designed to do. It's designed to say to Google, no, stop putting ads in front of people that have already bought before. They're on my email list. I can get them, I can reactivate them in another way. I don't want a lot of my budget being spent there. Please just go after new customers. Again, there's more nuance to that, more details. I'll include a link in the video description to another video that I talked all about customer acquisition. Now, if you're going through this thinking, this all seems really difficult and technical and complicated, which it absolutely can be. I just want someone to do this for me. I just want leads and sales from Google Ads. I don't want to know about all the intricate little details. Well, that's exactly what my business does. My agency can create, manage, and optimize your Google Ad campaigns for you. We can take all this workload off your hands. You won't need to worry about any of this or work any of it out, and we'll almost certainly get you much better results because we live and breathe this stuff than if you manage it yourself. So if you're interested in that, you want to find out more about us doing this for you and getting you great results, there is a link in the video description. You can click on that, come through to a page on our website and book in a free call, completely no obligation, with one of my team members to find out more about our service and how we might be able to help, and hopefully we get a chance to work together. Okay, so let's get back to our campaign creation then. So let's go ahead and click next. Now, by default, even though we've created a search campaign, Google will put your ads on the search network and the display network. I think for the same reasons as I discussed earlier, we want to deselect the display network and have this only operate like a search network campaign. So your ads are only being put in front of people that are searching on Google or their search partners. There are a few other places where ads can pop up, but Google's going to be the most likely. Now, Google's going to try and convince you to not do this, like add in display, you'll get more reach and stuff, and that's all fine, but that's not what we're looking to do for now. So go ahead and just deselect that and go with search. Then we get into location targeting. Now, you don't need to overthink this. Location targeting is very simply what I'd recommend you do is target the geographical areas where you can deliver your products or services. It's as simple as that. That might be one country, that might be multiple countries, or that might be much more specific. So if we're advertising our Google advertising services, we could go with the United Kingdom. That's going to be one of our major markets, but we have lots of clients from other places as well. So for example, we could look to add in the United States as a country and include that there. We could add in Canada and include Canada. We could add in Australia, include, and of course we could add in the UK. Now, we literally have clients from all over the world. We have clients in New Zealand and Ireland and Germany and Bali and Dubai and India and the Philippines and Chile and like you name it. We've got clients all over the world. But those 4 countries are probably going to be 75% of our clients, let's say. That's where the majority of them are going to come from. So we could look to target something like this. Or we could get a lot more specific. So let me show you how to do that. So if I go ahead into advanced search and delete these out, and let's say we had a local business and we obviously only wanted to advertise in a local area because either we travel to customers, and there's only so far we're willing to go, or customers need to travel to us. You know, if you're like a gym or a restaurant or something, you need to advertise obviously in a local area. So let's say we were based in a city in the UK called Bristol. We could go ahead and include Bristol as a location. You can see the map on this side that we've got the area that's being targeted by doing that. You think, well, that's just got the city itself. That's not quite right. Maybe we want to use a radius targeting around Bristol instead. So we could go to include Bristol as a radius targeting, and let me delete out so there's not an overlap. And you can see we're now targeting this area within the blue circle and thinking, okay, well, yeah, that's more like the area that we're willing to travel to customers, or they're willing to travel to us if we're a local business. But perhaps maybe you're thinking, okay, well, this is the Bristol Channel, this bit of water here, this part up here is Wales. Maybe we don't want to advertise to people in Wales, and before anyone in Wales gets insulted by that, my wife's Welsh, so, you know, no offence intended. But so we could add in some exclusions if we wanted to do that. So let's say we wanted this area, but we wanted to exclude some areas. Just want to quickly show how to do that. So let's say we were like, okay, we don't want to be targeting people over the Bristol Channel, so we could add in Wales, United Kingdom, and then click exclude, and that's going to exclude the whole of Wales. And you can see we've got some overlap within our blue circle there. So you can exclude areas, you can add in areas, you can do all sorts of things here to make sure that you've just got your area. Like I said at the beginning of this little section, don't get more specific than you need to and remove potential areas that you can target. So if you can serve the whole of the UK, don't just target London thinking that's where your customers will come from. Google will be able to work that out for you. Okay, so we can go ahead and click save, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with just the UK for demonstration purposes as we go through the rest of this. Then we get to languages, fairly self-explanatory. We're targeting, we would just be writing in English. You might want to add in other languages. This is likely to depend on where you're advertising, right? Most countries is going to be the one language that you're using, but there are lots of examples of countries that have multiple languages, and you might want to add in others. You can go ahead and do that. Then we get to audience segments, not something I want you to worry about, more of an advanced technique. I have videos on audience segments that you can check out later, but I think that's going to overcomplicate things now, and we don't need to go there right now. Then we've got this broad match keyword section. So we are going to get into keywords in a minute, but given that that's here, we need to discuss this now. So the way keywords work is you tell Google, I want you to advertise to people searching for this particular keyword. So for example, if we were advertising our Google advertising services, we might target the keyword Google advertising services. We're like, look, anyone in the UK that searches for Google advertising services, we want our ad to pop up because we want to try and sell them our Google advertising services. That's the way keywords work. Keywords have match types. Broad match is the most open match type of that you've got. You've also got phrase and exact. I'll explain the difference. So with broad match, if we say to Google, look, I want you to put my ads in front of people that advertise to Google advertising services, Google with broad match is saying, yeah, we'll do that, but we're also going to put your ads in front of searches that are related to Google advertising services, because people might search for different things and you don't want to miss out on all those potential customers. With broad match, Google can get really quite broad, and that can present issues. So yes, they'll put your ads in front of people searching for Google advertising services, but they might also put your ads in front of people that are searching for how to open a Google ad account, or how to start a Google ads agency, or even broader than that, to be perfectly honest, things that we wouldn't want to put our ads in front of, how to get a job as a Google advertiser, stuff like that, right? So I'm not a fan of using broad match, particularly for beginners, because it's easy to set up a campaign, set up things that you think are correct, and then it turns out, and I'll show you how to look at this data, that when you run your Google ad campaign, your ads are being put in front of people that are searching for all sorts of things that are very loosely related to the keywords you've entered, and those people obviously don't convert, you waste money, and you give up on the platform. I don't want that to happen. So this is a setting here to have all the keywords in the campaign be broad match, and I do not want, as a beginner, you to be using broad match basically at all. For now, you can always look to add that in. So I want to turn that off and use keyword match types instead. Google really wants us to use broad match because they're encouraging us to put ads in front of as many searches as possible, because that makes Google more money. So just something to be aware of there. Let's go ahead and, oh, by the way, with keywords and match types, I've got other resources if you want to dig into more info. I'll include links in the video description. Like I've already mentioned, sound like a broken record on that point. Let's click into more settings because there's some important things in here. So we've got ad rotation. The default here is optimize for best performing ads. That means that ads that get better results in terms of generating leads will be shown to people more often than ads that don't. Absolutely fine. You can leave that as a default. You could change it to just rotate indefinitely so it's an even split between ads if you wanted to do a proper split test, but I don't think it's necessary. So we're going to leave ad rotation as is. We've got start and end dates. If you wanted to start your campaign at a later date, pop that in there. If you wanted to end at a certain date, pop that in there. We're in our Google Ad account, clients' Google Ad accounts all the time, so we don't set an end date because we can turn things off manually and we know what we're doing. But if you wanted to make sure, oh, I really don't want this campaign to run past a certain date, go ahead and get that added in. Then we've got ad schedule, and this might really apply to certain businesses. So the default is just your ads will show up all days, any time of the day, depending on what someone is searching for. That obviously has to happen for an ad to show. But you could get more specific with this. So you could just advertise, say, Monday to Fridays, and you could specify the time as well and say, look, we're a B2B business. We want to be able to call our leads straight away. Therefore, we're only going to, I've put that as 5 a.m. That's not going to work. Therefore, we only want to advertise 9 to 5, Monday to Friday working hours. Or you might be the complete opposite and be like, you know, we only want to advertise on weekends because people are far less likely to come and purchase our whatever on weekdays. So this is very much going to vary depending on your business, and you can add extra schedules and have certain times where ads are shown and certain times where ads aren't shown. Don't worry about doing this. This is not going to mess up your campaign if you do this and add this in and make things a bit more restrictive. Often this is really important because, yes, we want to generate as many leads as possible, but what we really want to do is make sure that those leads are likely to convert, because if you pay for a lead and it doesn't convert, that's just a waste of money. With sales campaigns, adding in an ad schedule is far less important. It might still be valuable, and you can see from the data that people purchase at certain times, like maybe you only want to target the evenings and the weekends, that sort of thing. But because Google is optimizing for that end checkout, you don't have to worry about the conversion from lead to customer as you do with a leads campaign. So leads-based businesses are normally stricter on this, and that's why. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and leave that as all day for demonstration purposes. We've got some other settings in here. We already talked about start and end date, campaign URL options, and brands. You do not need to worry about, almost certainly. All right, let's go ahead and click next. Now, this is Google's latest thing where they are pulling information from our website and using this to try and generate ad copy, keywords, all that sort of stuff. It's quite hit and miss. Might as well give it a go. You can literally see it's generated, and you see Google says here, like, Google AI will use your URL information to create assets, No issue with clicking generate, seeing what it can do to get started with. There's a chat over here on this side where you can talk and try and further refine things, but I'm going to go ahead and delete this. Now, what I will say about, and so we've gone into the keywords and ad section now based on what we click generate. So Google's tried to guess what our keywords and things will be based on what we inputted there. Now, what I'd say here is that the AI stuff, and to be honest, this applies to a lot of AI involved in advertising, is it's better than a complete beginner, but much worse than someone who actually knows what they're doing. And you're going through this video, so you're actually gonna know what you're doing, so we're unlikely to use many of the suggestions when it comes to what's been generated AI-wise. One thing I do actually quite like is that they've worked out here, so you can add products or services to advertise, and if you do this, you can get the keyword suggestions updated. So because it's just taken our whole website, it's gone quite broad. So we've got things like keywords like digital advertising agency, Heath Media, our own company brand name, online advertising companies, paid advertising agency, etc., all the way down. That's more broad than I would typically recommend you get started with. I would zero in on one of your services, one of your products, and you can always look to expand later on. So what I'm going to go and do here is I'm going to go ahead and enter in Google Advertising Services, because that's the service that we really want to promote. I'm going to click Update Keyword Suggestions. Yes, replace. Happy for these to be replaced. And then Google's going to come up with new options down here that we could use to advertise our Google Advertising Services. And then basically what we're doing here is we are creating an ad group for our Google Advertising Services. Obviously, you can create an ad group for any service, particular product that it is that you want to target. So I'm going to change the name of this ad group up here to Google advertising services. We also offer Facebook advertising services. We would have a separate ad group for that, for example, right? Google advertising services, that's a service we've entered. And then we need to create the keywords that fit within this ad group. So an ad group is basically going to contain keywords and ads. And you can see how those things kind of match with themselves, right? So if we're targeting people that are searching for keywords related to Google advertising services, then we also need ads that are closely related to Google advertising services and feature that in the language. So that's why they're put together in one ad group. And you can have multiple ad groups depending on the different services and products that you offer. It's kind of how the structure works. So you've got campaign, ad group, and then keywords and ads within that. Okay, right. So these are the keywords that Google has automatically generated for us. Now, the first thing I need to mention is that these are broad match keywords. Now, even though we turned that setting off previously, these have still gone in as broad match, because if you just put in a keyword like this, Google advertising services, without any grammar around it, I'll explain what that means in a second, and that goes in as broad match. So we can run into those same issues that I've already described, where we could have people searching for things that are not even that closely related to Google advertising services, and that's not going to get us customers, which means we're wasting our budget. So what I'd like to do is turn this either into phrase match or exact match. So let's do phrase match first. So you do that by adding in quotation marks at the end or the beginning. Now, what phrase match means is that Google advertising services has to be those exact words, or very, very close to those exact words, have to be within the search, the Google search that someone's making, in order for ads to be shown. But we can have things at the end, at the beginning. So for example, we could have, if someone was searching for the best Google advertising services, if we're using phrase match, our ad would pop up. Or if someone's searching for Google advertising services in the UK, our ad would still pop up. Exact match, as you might imagine, is narrower. It's even more exact than that. So the way you tell Google that you want a keyword to be exact match is you put square brackets around it. So let's say we've got Google Ad Agency in there. What that means is that for our ad to be shown, someone needs to search for the exact word Google Ad Agency or some very close variation of it. So our ad would still be shown if someone searched for Google Ads Agency or Google Ad Agencies. There's just a difference between singular and plural. But it has to be very much exact. Like, our ad's not going to show if we've got an exact match keyword to someone searching for the best Google ad agency in the UK. It will with phrase match, if we had phrase match, but not with exact. So those are the differences between exact phrase and broad. Hopefully that makes more sense. Like I said, I've got more resources in the video description if you want more info on that. Now, what we want to do here, I think for beginners, is only start with a combination of phrase and exact match. And how you determine between those two, like should I use phrase or should I use exact, depends on the keyword itself and how closely related it is to whatever it is you're advertising. So for example, Google advertising services is dead on what we're looking to advertise, literally what we called the ad group. So I'm happy with phrase match. However, things like Google Ad Agency, I would like to get a bit more specific with, because it's still very relevant, but just a little bit further away from what we're offering, because I don't want my ads to be shown for someone searching for how to start a Google Ad Agency or how to get a job at a Google Ad Agency. Those people aren't going to go on and become clients of ours. And if we put ads in front of them and they click on them, that's potentially a waste of budget. So something that's a little bit further away from what we want to target, we'd look to go with exact match. So if I go down the list here, so we've got Google Ad Company, that could be exact match as well. Same with, let me get that right. Same with Google Ads Company, that should be exact match. Google Service Ads, I think that's just a bit too far away in general from what it is that we're looking to advertise, because you could have Google Service Ads, someone wants to know how to create an ad for a service that they're offering. I just think that's maybe not quite right. Google Ad Management, that's very close to services, so I'm happy to go with phrase match on that. Google AdWords Advertising, that's one. I mean, AdWords hasn't been used for a number of years. That's the old, so it used to be called Google AdWords and now it's called Google Ads, because it started that way because at the beginning Google was just, you could just advertise on the search network, and then as it added in other types of advertising on YouTube and shopping and all that, AdWords kind of became less relevant. But again, I think Google AdWords Advertising, no, I don't think that's specific enough at all, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that out. And then here we've got ad management services. I think that's too broad. It could be after TikTok ads or LinkedIn ads or Facebook ads, or we want to keep this to Google ads. You'll get a theme throughout this that to begin with, I want you to be as specific as possible, because the more specific you are, the more likely the people that come through are to convert. And that means you're not wasting budget and you're more likely to get better results. So ad management services is too broad. We might look to add something in though that we can think of that might work. So we could go with PPC services. Now PPC and Google ads aren't exactly the same thing, but they're often used interchangeably, and a lot of our prospects context won't know that they aren't the same thing. So I think adding that in, and we could do that one as phrase match, would be absolutely fine. So you can go ahead and, based on the list that's been provided, come up with 5 or 6, do a combination of phrase and exact match like I've done there. If in doubt, go more towards exact. You can always go really specific and then look to expand later. The only downside to being too specific with your keywords and too restrictive with your keyword match types using exact and phrase is that you won't have enough search volume, so you just won't have enough people coming through. If that happens, really easy fix, just come back in, add in more keywords, potentially change some of the keywords from exact to phrase to broaden out a little bit, and you'll start getting more search volume. Really easy fix. As I said, I'd rather you were more specific. Now, Google is going to try and convince you to not do this. They're going to try and convince you to go to broad match. We can see here, they're going to try and convince you to add in more keywords, and they might be right, but I think it's risky early on, particularly when Google doesn't know how to get you conversions within your ad account yet, because it's a brand new ad account. Once you've got more experience, yes, you can add in broad match. Once you've got a better negative keyword list, and we'll get to that in a minute, yes, you can add in more broad match. But I think at the moment, not so good. And just remember, part of the reason why Google wants you to do this is because your ads will show up to more searches, which means they make more money quicker. Right, so that's keywords for now. Then we get down into the ads section, okay? So because it's a search campaign, we're going to be creating what's called a responsive search ad, and Google has once again tried to add in a bunch of stuff automatically based on our URL. So the first thing we've got here is final URL. Now this is the destination that people are taken to after they click on your ad. So very important in a lot of cases not to just leave this as the default. They've just defaulted this as the homepage of the website because that's what we've entered as we've been going through the process. But there's a good chance you want to send people to a place that's more specific, a specific landing page. In our case, if we're advertising our Google advertising services, we would send people through to our Google Ads page on our website, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and enter in that, heathmedia.co.uk/Google Ads. Then we've got the display path. So this is actually a little bit different to the final URL. So the final URL is actually where people are going to end up. The display path is what that looks like within the ads. So you can see we've got these previews over here, by the way, guys, that helps. You can see we've got sponsored heathmedia.co.uk, and we can see this on mobile or desktop. Heathmedia.co.uk, this is the display path here. So these are really helpful to look at these previews as we're going through, so you get a good sense of how things are looking. So we could just simply add in like Google Ads, for example. And you can see now in the display path there, it's quite small, but you can see it on desktop or on mobile. It's going to be displayed there. Okay, so then we've got this headline section. Now Google has generated these for us automatically based on the information that we've added in, and you can see it's got a bit of extra information here to help us out. You know, for optimal ad performance, include these keywords in your headlines. So these headlines are this section, by the way, here. You know, view our case studies, apply today, and again, we can look at the desktop or the other version. Heath Media digital advertising digital agency, 50+ million spent on ads. So it's just pulled some stuff from our website. Often these are fine. I just feel like they could be better. So here's a perfect example, right? We've got 50+ million spent on ads. We've got ROAS advertising prices. ROAS advertising prices? Like return on ad spend advertising prices? That doesn't make any sense. View our case studies, apply today. Well, it's nothing to do with Google Ads about it. So it's like, view our case studies, apply today. Someone applying to work, you know, this one, paid advertising agency, apply today. Are they applying to work for us? The ad's confusing. This is what I mean by like the AI generated stuff is often fine. Like this one's fine here. Google Ads agency, monthly ad budgets, 1K to 1 million plus. That's okay, but in a lot of these scenarios we've just been running through, they're not fantastic. Extraordinary results, contact us to learn more. But about what? Google Ads? Like, who knows what this ad's about? And by the way, what's happening here and why I'm discussing these is that Google is showing us various previews because they've got a lot of different headline combinations, so they're just running through these as an example. So basically, these are all right. Sometimes they're fine, sometimes they're not. We can do better. We can do better than the ones that have been generated. So what I'm going to quickly do is go ahead and delete these out and then add in some that we would prefer to use that I think are going to produce better results. Okay, so we've added in these headlines, and I think these are better. These are more likely to get a conversion, but sometimes they still not going to make sense, right? Because if we get ones like this, generate more conversions, average 30% improvement, those are definitely benefits that people are looking for with Google Ads services. But again, we kind of run into the same issue as with the automatic generated versions where they're like, is this for Google Ads or like what? So what you can do is, because we've got Google Ads agency as one of our headlines, is we can pin this. So if we click on this little pin icon and we can say to Google, look, Out of the 2 or 3 headlines they use, and Google will use 2 or 3 headlines, and you can see they're sort of auto-generating them, and what they'll do is they'll test the various combinations and see which works best. We can say to Google, look, you can choose 2 or 3 out of the ones that we've got here, and we've added in 4, but we could add in up to 15, but I always want you to include this one in here. So we could say, I always want you to include Google Ads Agency, and then we can choose, look, I'm happy for you to include it wherever you think is best, position 1, position 2, position 3, or I always want it in position 1, always want it in position 2, always want it in position 3. This one's often fine. You may want to pin it as always in position 1. I don't think that actually went through, but I can go ahead and select this, and then they're going to look to put that in there for us. The preview sometimes takes a bit of time to update. Or if you really wanted to, and you were like, no, I actually want to make sure this makes sense, we could be like, nope, just pin it in position 1. So we always want it to start with Google Ads Agency, and then you can choose from these various other options for headline combos. Just something to be aware of, because you've got to think about, how is my prospect going to see this? What are they going to think when they see this? And really important that we go ahead and get that right. Right, let's scroll down now to the descriptions. So the description, let me jump over to mobile preview because it's a little bit easier to, we scroll up to see. So this is our headline. We've done our display path, which is part here. And then this part under here is the description. So this is more information that's going to we're going to use to try and convince someone to click and then ultimately go ahead and convert. So these descriptions are really important. With a responsive search ad, we can add up to 4 descriptions. And once again, Google has automatically entered this in for us. Like with the headlines, the examples here are fine, but I think we can do better. You know, Heath Media is a top digital advertising agency based in the UK. It's okay. We offer a complete range of services from paid media, social media marketing. That's not good. If we're advertising a specific Google ad service, that's far too broad. We've also then got Heath Media as a leading digital advertising agency in the UK. Well, that's basically the same as the top one. And we've got looking to scale. We partner with select brands seeking extraordinary results. That's all right. So like with before, hit and miss. Now you have a lot more characters to work with. Whereas with the headlines, we had a maximum of 30 characters. We can put in 90 characters in here. So I'm going to delete these out, and I'm going to write in some better description options. And just like with the headlines, the AI does an okay job, but it's not as good as a proper advertiser. And you can see as I'm deleting these out, Google is saying that we need at least 2 descriptions for them to be able to test. So I'm going to add in, this is a headline, schedule a call to find out how we can help you today. Something really specific and CTA based like that is, I think, a good one to add into the mix. And remember, depending on how long these are, Google might use more than one description in one ad, and it also depends, where it's being shown, desktop versus mobile. And then another one I'm going to add in that I like is take a look at our fantastic track record case studies. We know that the single most important thing to help people convert when we're advertising our Google Ads services are case studies. They want to see what people have done, what we've been able to do for other people, and that gives them confidence to therefore work with them. Now, typically I'd go in and add in other options, but I don't want this video to be 18 hours long. It's already going to be a really big one. So those are 2 examples that we could look to add in for now. That I think are better than the AI generated. We've got 1 call out based, 1 results based. And if you want more information on descriptions, headlines, again, I've got another link in the description that has a whole video dedicated to just that, which you might find helpful for building this out further. Right, let's carry on. So we scroll down, we've got business name and logos, less important on a search campaign than other campaign types. As Google says, they will just pull that through from your website if you don't add that in, but obviously you could go ahead and get that added in specifically quite easily. Then we move down to site links. Now, site links is the first of the Google Ad assets that I want to talk about. What used to be called Google Ad extensions, I actually think that was a better name because it better described what these things actually are. But extensions or assets are things that you can add onto your ad that make it bigger, give prospects more information, give people opportunities to navigate the ad easier. And we'll go through some of the specifics now. Now, these you definitely want to add in, because otherwise your ad has just got headline, description, and then the display URL. And by adding in these extra assets, our ad's bigger, takes up more of the page, more likely to get the click, more likely to get the conversion. So if I just quickly pause this rotating preview, and we can see that site links, these are ones that Google has automatically generated for us, as they did with everything else. You can see here we've got these site links are these links underneath the ad: Blog Center, About Us, Google Ads. Now, if someone was to click on one of these, that would then take people through to that specific page. So blog center is going to be the blog, about us is going to be the about us page, etc., etc. Now, these actually don't like what Google has automatically generated for us. So I'm going to go ahead and delete these out because it's not, and they've actually interestingly come up with some other examples that they've given, but I don't want to go ahead and use those either. And I'm going to go ahead and delete about us. And then I'm going to select the ones that I really want to demonstrate. So like, I don't want to send people through to our blog if we're advertising for Google Ads services. Like, that's not great. I do want to use the case studies. I think that makes complete sense. I'm quite happy for people to be sent directly through to the Google Ads page on the website. So I don't mind leaving that in. Contact us, again, that seems absolutely fine. So you have to have a think about what makes sense given what I'm advertising, where I'm happy for people to come through. Things like case studies, contact us, that makes a lot of sense. So if I save those, we can see we've got 3 in there now. We need to add in at least 2. We can add, I would normally add in a 4th. And then, by the way, you want to click into these and just make sure that Google actually got the right URL. So here we've got heathmedia.co.uk/case studies. That's fine. I'm happy with that. We can add in a description if we want to add in extra information. I think that's very much extra credit type work. So you can do it, but not necessary. If you want more info on site links and breaking it all down in details, again, another video in the, another link to another video in the description where you can go through that and find out more information around site links. Okay, so that's one of the Google Ad assets we want to add in. The next one is callouts. So let's go ahead and add in some callouts. So callout assets is an opportunity to emphasize the benefits associated with your product services. It's just extra space to sell in kind of like a short, snappy format, okay? So we can add in a number of call out options, and that's normally what I recommend you do. So sometimes we're just going to reiterate things that we would have included in the ad itself. So, you know, this is one of the headlines was average 30% improvement. We know that that's really important. So we could add something in like an agency that cares. We know that a lot of people have had bad experiences with other Google Ads agencies that potentially don't care. So we can add that in as a selling point of our service. And then one of the things we also pride ourselves on is outstanding service, being very responsive and helpful to our clients. So we could look to add in something along those lines. And you can see that these call outs have been added underneath our description. So this is our ad description here, you know, schedule a call to find out how we can help you today, take a look at our fantastic track record, case studies. That's our description. And then we've got these 3 callouts added in underneath. And again, if you add in more callouts, what Google will do is they'll test the various options. They'll do that with site links as well, by the way. They'll test the various options, see which produces the best results, and then optimize for that, which gets you the most leads or the most sales, and is probably something that you're going to want to have and that we can all do. And you can add in extra ones. We've just added in those 3 for now. And again, if you want more information on call out extensions or call out assets, I should say, then you could go ahead and check out a video that I've got specifically on that. And on that topic, if I go ahead and click more asset types, there are lots of other different types of Google Ad assets that you can add in, things like promotions and prices and calls and structured snippets and all sorts, right? I have a video on every single one of those. Links are all going to be in the description. I'm not going to cover them all here because, as I said, we don't want this video to be any more monstrous than it already is and more confusing. Adding in, I would say, site links and call outs are the most important at this stage anyway. Get those added in. This other stuff is more of a, it's extra credit. Yes, it will help you improve your performance, but not as much as those 2. That's why Google has those sort of above the, you know, these are in the more asset types, so they're like tucked underneath, whereas these other 2 are like very prominent, feature very prominently in callouts and site links, and they know that those are the most important, and that's why they do it that way. So can you add these in? Yes. Should you add these in? Yes, probably. Do you need to do this with your first campaign? No, but it's something that once you've got a bit of time, go through the videos that I've mentioned in the links to which are in the video description and check those out and get those added in, and you will probably see a better performance by doing so over time. Right, that is our first responsive search ad creative. I fully appreciate that, particularly for a beginner, this can be really quite confusing, hence why you might want to use our service to do this for you. But that is walking you through the entire process to get your ad nice and set up. So I'm going to go ahead and click done. Okay, and that is your first responsive search ad creative. I know this could be complicated and difficult and seem like there's loads of elements, hence why you might want to use our service. But if you have been through this process and now understand it and you go through, it does get easier over time, as you might imagine. Now, one thing I just want to quickly highlight is that we can see up here, Google saying this is ad strength is poor. That's basically just because we don't have loads of headlines and loads of descriptions and all the assets built out like the AI did naturally. It doesn't mean the ad will perform badly. It just means that we haven't taken advantage of all the various things that we could add in. So don't worry about this too much. Like, would it be good to add in lots of other stuff? Yes. Would we do that if we were creating this campaign usually? Yes, we would add in more than the 3 or 4 headlines that we added. We would add in a whole bunch and get all this set up. But again, just for the purposes of not making this video insanely long, I'm not going to do that here. And you've got links to other resources that can show you how to do that stuff. I just wanted to highlight in case you're thinking, well, hang on, Google thinks this ad's rubbish. That's why. It's not something you need to particularly worry about. Okay, let's go ahead and click done, and we've done our ad. All right, let's scroll all the way back up, done our responsive search ad, and then we're going to click next. Now, this next section is about budget. How much should you spend on your Google Ad campaign? One of the most common questions that I get, what's the perfect budget? And there is no perfect budget. It's going to massively depend on your business. Google is going to give recommendations. Do not feel like you have to use those recommendations by any means. They are going to give you estimates on weekly conversions, how much it's going to cost per conversion. These estimates are often very inaccurate, particularly with new Google Ad accounts. With more mature ad accounts that have a lot of conversion data, these estimates get more and more accurate, which makes sense, right? Google has a better understanding of the results you're likely to produce. But with this stuff at this stage, with a brand new Google Ad account, I wouldn't take too much notice of the estimates. So what I'd recommend you do here when it comes to setting a budget is you want to spend an amount that you can afford to lose. And the reason why you want to do that is because your Google Ad campaign may well not work from day one, particularly if you're brand new to this and you don't have a highly developed Google Ads skill, particularly if you're advertising something new that is not tried and tested, you don't know that the offer is going to land well with your target market yet, there's a decent chance it won't work. And you want to be prepared for that eventuality. So better to start small with something that you can afford to lose that wouldn't put you or your business in financial difficulty if you did lose it, because if it does work, you can always look to scale and increase from there. That's easy to do. That's not a problem. I also should say that I don't think you should spend such a small amount that it doesn't mean anything to your business. You don't want to be in a situation where you're spending so little that you're like, I don't care, set it and forget it, walk off, don't check the campaign. That's not going to produce the best results. For most businesses, there's this nice middle ground where you're like, we could afford to lose this, but it'd sting a little bit. I think that's the sweet spot, because you're not going to get in trouble if it doesn't work out, but you're going to care enough to be invested and involved in trying to make this work. And that's obviously really important. If you can do that well, then you're likely to stay on the platform and get better results and scale up. And a successful Google Ad campaign could absolutely be completely business transformative and allow you to 10x your business from where you are. I've seen it happen so many times. So it's well worth investing the time and effort, because the potential rewards are massive, but helping yourself out with that budget, I think, is a good idea. Now, of course, you've been through this video, so hopefully a Google Ad campaign will work from day one, but it's always best to prepare for the eventuality that that's not going to be the case. I'm just going to go ahead and use the recommended here, but you can absolutely come in and set a custom budget and say, no, I want to go ahead and do this instead. I think this is something I'm more comfortable with. And it could be less or could be more. If you're a business that turns over £50 million a year, you know, what's a £60 a day budget? It's a waste of time. If you're a business that has just gotten started and you're generating $1,000 a month, that's going to be a huge budget for you to get started with, most likely. So adjust that according to your circumstances. And there is no perfect budget. Right, then we go ahead and click next, and we get a chance to go through and basically review the campaign, all the various elements, and just make sure that we've got everything right. Search campaign, objective, leads. Goal is to book appointments. Bidding is to maximize conversions. Customization, we're not worried about that. We're only on the Google Search Network. We're targeting the whole of the UK. We're not worried about languages, audience segments. We've got broad match keywords turns off. We've added in 6 keywords. We've got 1 responsive search ad, and we've got that as our budget. One thing that I would also like to re-mention at this stage is to highlight the importance of having that conversion tracking set up. The best way to do that is with Google Analytics. And I've got a separate video that shows you how to get that set up and then link Google Analytics to Google Ads to make sure that when a conversion, in our case, someone books an appointment, when someone comes through to that URL, when that is triggered, when someone does take that action, Google knows about it, they can see it in the ad account, they can therefore optimize for it, and we can see it in our results so that we can optimize our campaign as well. Now we can go ahead and click publish. Now, once you click publish, Google is going to review your Google Ad campaign. They're going to take a look at it and make sure that It doesn't violate any of the advertiser policies, and assuming it gets through that, which it probably will, your ads will go live, and then you should start seeing impressions, your ads being put in front of people, and clicks really quite quickly, and hopefully conversions as well. So what I recommend once you do that is keep an eye on the campaign. You don't just want to set it and forget it. Don't think, I've created my Google ad campaign, I'm guaranteed to get results, I can just run this and let it run, and I don't need to worry about it. That's not true. You want to be taking a look at the data. Once you start generating data, you want to take a look and see, okay, out of all these keywords that we're targeting, these ones are performing best, these ones aren't performing as well. You can pause the ones that are performing worse, and you could look to add in new keywords that are similar to the best performers and leverage that data to get better results over time. You could do the same with ads. Oh, these headlines are working really well, these ones not so. Can we add in more headlines that are similar to the best performers? And on you go. The process of optimization. I've got another video that shows you how to optimize Google ad campaigns. I'll include a link in the description so you can check that out. Once you start generating data, strongly recommend that you go through that and get some more information on that and know how to do that properly, because over time you can take a Google ad campaign that starts out unprofitable, not doing so well, or doing okay, and turn it into something that's producing amazing results with some time and effort. So that's something that I would recommend that you do. And if you want to kick on and get really good at Google ads, I've obviously mentioned tons of other videos in this video that you can go ahead and check out. You can find those other videos on my channel. There are a lot of links in the video description down below, and you can go through those and level up each individual part of Google ads and get really good at those and get the best results possible. Now, if you've made it this far through the video, very well done. It shows that you're really serious about this, and I'm pretty confident that if you've made it this far, you're going to learn this stuff and get fantastic results. So well done for that. If you found this video useful, please go ahead and subscribe. That's really helpful for me. And also let me know in the comments below, and that's always much appreciated. And your feedback always helps in terms of directing what videos we create next and where we go ahead and put our focus. So best of luck with your Google ad campaigns, best of luck with your businesses, and I'll see you on another video very soon.